Good afternoon, and wherever you are in this wide, wonderful, beautiful world, you are very welcome to the Soft and System Size 2 sales, our first live of the year, and we're going to have plenty more of them. And today we're looking at our strategy, turning our strategy into results, and what the actionable insights that we need to do, what you need to do right now to get back on track. So, Shay, welcome again. Good to see you online. I'm really looking forward to this conversation that we're having today.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jason. And hello, everyone who's joining in. And you're absolutely right, Jason. This time is crucial. It is crucial to set the sails in the right direction, get moving, build momentum. But it has to be, I know we're talking about strategy implementation, but it has to be strategic.
Yep.
You need to be doing the right things, defined the right way, led the right way, communicated the right way. It all has to come together and complement each other.
Absolutely. Normally we'll have a video at this point, but I think we just, because of timings, we're going to go straight into it today and make sure that we give you as much time and value as possible, because selling is one of those things that we have to do, like regardless of what business you're in. How can you develop those actionable things now to help people buy? Because selling is just a word, but looking at a way to help yourself get in the right mindset behind what you do, getting those actionable things that you do on a day-to-day basis. I always like to say, own your business. Really own your business, regardless of what industry that you're in. Makes no difference. If you're really nice to have a basic plus commission, wonderful. Well done for that. Think like you're self-employed. Think that everything that you do brings in value to the company that you work for, and also the industry that you work for. Be an expert at what you do. Lots of things that you can make actionable steps to have business success. I'm just Shay, while you do that, I'm just going to invite John up onto the stage as well. He's finally got himself ready. So, John, welcome.
Hey, how are
Welcome,
how
John.
are we doing?
We are live to the world, so you're on live. So once you get your configuration sorted out on your webcam, that'd be awesome. So we're actually, Shay and I have actually just started. We're actually talking about actionable steps. So you have your strategy, you have you're going to put them into results. But what are the actionable steps that you're going to do for success in 2024?
Well, first and foremost, Jason, if you recall what we talked about before we broke for Christmas, right? We talked about getting a good start in December so you can get the ball rolling in January very, very quickly, very effectively, right? So it's very important that you pick up the pieces very, very quickly, number one, right? And there's multiple levels we need to discuss, Jason, right? Number one is the leadership level, right? And then as you were just working with there is talking about if you're a salesperson going out and looking to get sales, right? So if we look at from your perspective, Jason, you really need to define where your leads are coming from, right? And obviously there's a multiple different places your leads come from: cold leads, warm leads.
Yep.
If you do a lot of content, if you share a lot of content to show that you're a thought leader, you can pick up leads from there. You can start the lead generation process from really good content. But then obviously there's paid for leads as well, and there's multiple different mechanisms: online paid, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, Facebook, whatever it is. But also then you can use affiliates, right, as well. You can use third parties to get you in places where you normally wouldn't be able to get in. So if you were to ask me what is the number one thing I would be doing, which should have done in December, is to ensure build that cohort of how am I going to chase cold leads, build your mechanism, build it deeply down to the micro steps all the way through. Warm leads, pick up your phone, look at all your network on LinkedIn or wherever you hang out, the associations you're in, pick them up, pick everything, put everything down. And I guarantee you, Jason, the more you put down in these places, you won't be short of leads. Then it goes into the process. So
Mm.
get those leads written down, where you're going to find them, where do they hang out, and then just go forward. But it's not just the what, it's the how is very important too.
Yeah, I totally concur with that. I used to like use the 3 C's process.
Okay.
Consistency, consistency, consistency. And it's quite an easy process to follow, but it's so true. Like if you're doing it so sporadically, meaning you're posting every other week on LinkedIn about insights which are valuable for people to read, and it's got to be of value. You got to be showing what you do rather than boasting what you do. Okay, there's elements of that, but it can't be egotistical because that just turns people off. You got to be a thought leader and do what you say, not what I do, if you know what I mean. So your newsletters that you produce, speaking to the right other people as well that are within the industry or outside, be that expert of what you do, regardless of whatever you are. So if you're in sales, again, you're a salesperson or sales leader, be that expert, be that credible source, be that trusted person, that trusted advisor that can help analyze and give value forward. And I'm having a lot of conversations with people now and salespeople now is they're talking about their product. They're talking about their product or their software or whatever, rather than talking about the customer. And it makes it I normally a little bit quiet when I hear it, and then I say, well, you have to change the way that you look at things. And I'll give you an example, just a few moments. Someone just reached out to me, and I'm actually going to read it out because, good day, I'm interested in a few calls for your business with qualified customers. And he reached out, and I was going, I'm interested, meaning him, not me. Are you interested? Change your language. Use it for an effect that it's not about you, it's about the other person. So, a little bit of a linguistic challenge for salespeople talking about themselves as opposed to talking about their clients and customers. And we're bringing John here, and you're waiting patiently there.
Thanks. Sorry I can't join by camera this evening. It's I'm just out and about, so I thought it best that I at least join by audio. And and it's great to be back in the new year. It's you've brought up so much actually in the first couple of minutes. There's so much you brought up. Never never mind just talking about strategy and about salespeople and picking up leads and how to respond to leads. There's just so much there. I think the first thing when we're talking about strategy is that where is it you want to be at the end of it? That's it.
Mm.
The strategy, you can have a plan, you can put together all the steps that you need. You can be busy doing your things, getting stuff done, but you must have a strategy in place and say where you want to be, where you want to win business, what playing field do you want to be playing on in order to win, and that can be win new sales, new business, and then think about what is it the customers that you want. So yeah, look, you've touched on a huge amount of things there. Put together the strategy, decide where you want to be, then begin to put together the plan. And as is always talked about, and I think Shay always touches on the vision and the mission of the business and
Mm.
where you want to take it to. So yeah, look, it's all to be played for this year. It's going to be a difficult year, in my opinion. And if you can hit the ground running with the existing leads, with the existing prospects, with the existing opportunities that you have, but you must always be looking out for more in order to hit the strategic goal of your business, not just to be doing stuff for the sake of doing it.
You're spot on, John. And like, there's a few things I just want to touch on that you mentioned there as well. Number one, targets, right? You're talking about what you want to achieve, and you should know from your current conversion rates, right? Well, if I want to get X amount of sales, how many people does that mean I need to reach out? That's number one. That's the mathematics behind everything, right? You need to then, and then probably, as you said, John, if you have to brace yourselves for a tough year ahead, maybe you have to add on a bit more, another 10, 15, 20% even to get the same results. That's number one. Second of all, John, what you said about the plan and implementation, guess what? No plan survives the first encounter with implementation, right? Because the whole point with a strategy plan is to understand on paper your best understanding of how you think you're going to achieve something. You can't predict the future. You don't know. You know certain things will work, but other things no. So the whole point then is, so if you have a strategy by the end of the year, you need 100 sales, say 120, just keep it easy. And you're breaking it down. Well, I just want 10 or 5 sales in month one. You get 3. You need to look at, why did I get 5? What worked well? What stopped me from getting more? What do I need to do differently? And you keep iterating the plan and execution in real time. You can't have these stubborn plans and tunnel vision that never change. And then you go, why couldn't I achieve it? You need to react and adapt as things go forward. And this is where I always talk about what I mentioned at the start is the leadership element to keep all the team on track, help all the team members understand this is what you need to do. If it's not working, what do you need to do differently? It's super important to keep that focus. And the other thing then, before I finish up, is people are always motivated in the beginning of the year. They come after Christmas, they're refreshed, regenerated, ready to go. The leadership role, then how can you keep them motivated after month 2, after month 3? This is super important because people can go back to old ways very, very easy.
I was going to just jump in there, and I think one of the foundational things that a leader should be doing with their team, maybe their team managers, is to be that coach. Help them find their own challenges so they recognize it within themselves. Asking some really good, valuable questions to them. Where are you today? What do you need to do to improve? What tools do you have around you? Finding their intrinsic motivators, finding out what's going to inspire them to move forward. But it all comes from them. You shouldn't be saying, oh, today we're going to be speaking about KPIs. Okay, what challenges are you facing right now? What customers are you speaking to? Do you need any help with in advance before you go out and pitch them? Let's have a look. So between coaching and mentoring, so you got to distinguish between the two and where you can probably jump in between the two in a way, but you have to support them and know that you're there for them in terms of meetings, team meetings, one-on-ones. But sometimes it's not only about KPIs, it's about other things. How can the best seller support the rest of the team? What are they doing differently? What are they doing because they're flying at the moment that can help other team members? Maybe they can go on and mentor someone else or shadow them or buddy them. So you can get a really good psychological safe environment for their team to learn and grow. So it might be other things that I need to learn this, I need to learn that in order for them to get better at what they do so they can actually help their customers buy from them as opposed to sell.
I'm always interested in the way conversations like this go, actually, because of the fact that it really goes to show that when we begin talking about strategy and turning strategy into steps and having a strategic goal for the business, we always end up talking about the sales process or how we can support the sales team in order to generate the revenue. And I do laugh at this because there's a huge amount more going on within organizations. But I always find that the sales, if you're not keeping the sales turning over with the business strategy, and that's where the leadership comes into mind, because the leadership needs to be stepping in and reminding and bringing the teams together and saying, we have a strategy for the business and we have buy-in from everybody. And this is what we're aiming for. We want to end up to be, let's say, the number one cybersecurity company in the country, in Europe, in the world, and what do we need to do to achieve that? But I always find it interesting that we end up, and this is in a good way, we end up discussing and looking for methodologies to enable our sales teams to do better, to get more leads, to focus on developing their pipeline. And I'd love to know, even from both of you, what would be the biggest what would be a recommendation you would give to as a leader within an organization to help them develop through 2024?
So, number one, John, right? And what I'm going to say, and I know myself and Jason have talked about this many, many times, right? You mentioned technology there. Like, everybody now is talking about inbound marketing, right? And they think they can hide behind doing all this great content and generate leads. And don't get me wrong, that's a powerful long game strategy, right? But
Totally agree.
what are you going to do now? Okay. And many people put their head in the sands thinking, well, I'm just going to call it the ostrich syndrome, right? Put their head in the sands and just assume, okay, I've got this marketing company. We're doing all this inbound marketing. Everything's hunky dory. I don't need to do anything. And that's the problem. It impacts the mindset of people. I finished a great book last year called The Sales Truth. And I always get the surname Mike somebody. I can't think of his name. It's a really powerful book that talks about the old ways are more relevant today, because if you're looking at people who are using all these automation strategies and all these systems to reach out to many, many people, you lose that personalization. Excuse me. You lose that. So then, as someone like me or Jason or you, John, what can we do to stand out? How can you always stand out from the crowd? That's always been the mechanism in any world in sales. And it's more relevant today because people are doing more of the same. Technology, AI, machine learning can do all these things. What can you do differently? I'm going back to writing letters, John, to send out to people. And I talked to you about this, Jason, and you even suggested use a blue envelope so your letter stands out when it arrives. It's all about standing out.
Absolutely, and it's great to hear that. I think it's the quote comes from Earl Nightingale. Whatever everyone else is doing, do the opposite. Everybody else is on LinkedIn posting. Everybody else is sending emails. Everybody else, as you said, is hiding behind the technologies that they use in order to stop themselves or not have to face up to the fear of picking up the phone and having a conversation. So whatever everyone else is doing, do the opposite. Send them a letter in a blue envelope. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's lots of different actionable steps that we can take, especially for the 2024, because we are talking about strategy and we are talking about how we can be different to everyone else and to the competition. So for people that are listening to us now, what are you doing specifically to make yourself different? What are you doing to make yourself stand out? Is it your opening line when you're on doing a call to a client? What's your power statement? What is something that you're going to say that's just going to spark the imagination of the other person, that they resonate with you straight away? Because it is a transference of information, but how can you create a really quick, short narrative that it recalls in the other person's brain that goes, oh, wow, that's good. I've never heard that before. Something that I always do, and Shay, you probably know this because I do this offline. Have a bit of fun, for Christ's sake. Enjoy it. Enjoy yourself. Make sure that you're using humor in the right way. I'm going to be using this a lot more this year, but in the right context. I'm not going to be the Mr. Joke, Jimmy Carr, or anyone like that, but I'm going to be the person that is a lot more light-hearted, because people like that style of things. As long as I've got the credibility behind what I say and do and got the backup and all that sort of, all the other stuff. But, people like that. And because it breaks down the barriers a little bit more. So you can have a little bit more enjoyment in the whole process of what you do, rather than being that Mr. Serious side. And yet you do have to have that serious side when you're speaking of value, but you can do it in a fun, enjoyable way, so the other person's people enjoy the process as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. And that makes me think of something that I'm going to ask you about a question, right? Well, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the acronym CRM? What's the first thing you think of?
I think of what it stands for.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself. Customer relationship management.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Exactly.
John.
But what I'm saying, right, is when you mention CRM, people think software. Okay. They think software. Oh, you're talking about a piece of software. And I'm going, no, customer relationship management. And what you were saying, Jason, triggered me to ask that question because it's about customer relationship. It's a relationship between two people building relationships, right? It's not a piece of software. And what I've found in the past is where people spend 80% of their time behind a piece of software, managing all the features and doing all this and being productively busy in something that doesn't really matter. And I've often taken them off this software and saying, now, what will you do without the software? What else can you do? Pick up the phone, talk to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And build those relationships. It's a real time, real life process. It's not something you type into a piece of software. And that, again, as I said already, it's more important today because everybody's got access to all the machine learning systems, right?
Yeah.
And they're all doing the same thing. What can you do? Again, going back to this point, what can you do differently to stand out?
I completely concur with that. And I've seen it from my point of view as well. They buy the bells and whistles, but they don't use the bells and whistles because all they want is, I had this conversation with someone, type that in, any sort of interesting facts about the conversation that you had, type that in, any other valuable members within who else is going to be involved, leave that in and just keep it quite simple. Because otherwise, you get all these bells and whistles and all these sales forces of the world. They're great tools if they're done right and they're used correctly, but they have to be used correctly. But don't spend all 80% of the time on it where you need to be in front of customers. It should be 80% of the time actually on it.
Jump on to another call.
Thanks for joining, John.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll
really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
And you're spot on, Jason. And again, something comes to mind, right? Obviously, metrics are very, very important.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
You need something to review daily, monthly, right? But here's a thing. Many people focus on the monthly too much. And that's after the fact. They're called the lagging metrics. It's more important and impactful to focus on the leading metrics. What are you doing daily? How many calls are you making? How many meetings did you get? These are the leading metrics which will influence those lagging metrics at the end of the month. But if you're only collecting lagging metrics at the end of the month, when you look at it, you can go, oh yeah, we had a terrible month. And you can't do anything about it in the past. Where you're measuring daily those leading metrics, you can see, well, am I getting enough? Do I need help? What's working well? What's working not well? What do I need to change? You can be updating everything real time. And that is crucial. And Jeff Bezos often says he doesn't have lagging metrics. He'll talk about leading all day long because they're the things that influence. It's the process. If you know your conversion rate, you have to make 100 calls a day. And that will lead to your success. You make those 100 calls. And then here's the thing, Jason, what I've learned over the years is, well, yeah, if that's the goal, 100 calls, well, how can I improve my conversions? How can I make sure that 100 calls I make, I get 70 meetings, not 50, right? And what do I need to tweak in what I do to make sure I give myself the best chance of getting to the next step and giving the customer good enough reason, or potential customer, to take that meeting with you? And again, as you said, it's about being other person centered.
Yeah, it is. It's more focused and leaning in to the customer. At the end of the day, technology and that great, email's great, and all that fantastic, marketing's great. But again, it's having those conversations with your clients actionable steps again. We've been speaking about the strategy. You got the strategy for the year. You're congruent, hopefully, with your marketing as well, because that's part of the strategy going forward. And part of the actionable steps that happens in the background. But then it is, how much time are you spending customer facing? How much time are you spending picking up the phone to actually speak with real people rather than hiding behind technology? Because again, we've spoken about it many times, but hiding behind things, you're not going to get in front of anyone when you hide behind the technology. So lots of things that we've discussed today. I know it's been one of those things. I think we're a little bit giddy because it's 2024 and this is our first live for the year. So we've got lots of value to give throughout this year, but we want to give you some insights to where we think that it's going to go. Shay, this might be a little bit off track. Where do you think 2024 is going to happen for the industry, like as a whole? And it's a bit of an open question there.
Well, it's a good question, and there's multiple answers and levels to the answer, Jason. In Ireland, as John said, I think it'll be a little bit tough, right? And obviously, the first quarter is always tough because people I've got the hangover from the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
So you have to work harder, right? And then as things settle, things will improve. But the outlook in Ireland is reasonably okay. Okay, we're a little bit more insulated from global things that are going on for now, right? And we've worked hard as a country to protect ourselves because of what happened in the naughty 90s, right?
Yeah.
So we've worked hard, and so we've insulated ourselves a little bit better than most, right? And don't get me wrong, Jason, we have a lot of dependencies on foreign direct investment, so we are open to the global scenarios, but we have a very strong internal gross domestic product. So I believe it'll be a steady year. Okay, I believe, but it'll be tough. People want more, and this is something that's evolving everywhere, Jason. People want more. People want more service. They want more after sale service. They want more of everything, right? So you need to figure out how can you do that effectively. Because the other thing that comes into play, Jason, is the rising cost of business, right?
Yeah.
And that is something we are impacted by.
Yeah.
So everything is going, especially in the retail. Retail have to work very, very hard to keep their customer base. And here's the thing, Jason, like we're in Ireland, right? So this is just a simple example of how things have changed in Ireland. Back in the 90s, if you had a pub in Ireland, you were made. It's our culture. We love conversing over a pint in a pub, solving the world problems, right?
Yeah.
I've read on 5 different posts in different major cities around Ireland, Cork, Dublin, and Galway, of pubs closing, right?
Yeah.
Because the cost of business. So to hear that one of the institutional buildings or type of congregations in Ireland, in big cities, well, big for Ireland, are closing because of the rising cost of business. So that's something we do need to be mindful of. And how, as a salesperson, can you overcome that challenge or that objection?
Yeah. And it's also a lot of empathy, really understanding from their position and what's going on in their world, and really finding out maybe the trigger points and maybe an understanding and mutual respect for that. So there's a resonance in there, because like every year can be challenging, can be everything, depending on the type of industry that you're in. So everything can always be tough, and everyone can say it's always been tough. Like there are challenges, but what we need to do as a profession and as an industry to move forward and overcome these, maybe offer different products, different services, or pivot. And we did speak about that in the opening statements where you're saying about the plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But how can you pivot, and how can you change from the original strategy and maybe slightly steer off course? But the big goal is still the same, but you might have to weave in and out to get to where you need to go.
I always say fail fast and learn quicker, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we hit our witching hour for now. We appreciate everyone that's come on board and listened to us. It's across the channels. It'll be across myself and Shay's YouTube channel, so you can actually go back and listen to what we've given today. We're across Instagram. Well, I am anyway, and Facebook, and obviously LinkedIn Live as well, which is another awesome channel. So again, thanks, Shay. We'll look forward to doing something else this time next week and giving you value.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everyone.